Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rebel News live stream on this, a Friday, July 11th, 2025. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a bit about my co-host, shall I? Folks, do you know that today is Car Collector Appreciation Day? And sadly, my co-host doesn't appreciate collector cars. Why? She had a chance to buy Sheila Gunn Reid's Subaru Brat and declined to do so. Unbelievable. She is the she-devil with a spatula. She is the Khaleesi of BC. She is the sensational Drea Humphrey. How you doing there, Drea?
I'm doing good, David. I don't know where you get this stuff from every day, but I appreciate it. You were my favorite rebel before being a rebel, and it continues on.
Oh, that's so sweet. Drea, you know what? I got to tell you, the Subaru Brat, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
it was a little compact pickup truck, and suddenly it's kind of relevant now, given all the tariff tiffs that we're going through. What happened back in the late 70s, early 80s is that imported pickup trucks were subjected in the U.S. to a 25% tariff, but passenger cars only had to pay a 2.5% tariff. So Subaru did the following. They put two seats facing rearward in the bed of the Subaru with seat belts. Oh, yeah. And suddenly, for some reason, the definition of the Brat was no longer pickup truck, but passenger car. And they got to import them with the reduced tariff. The more I think about it, I should do a story about how Subaru brilliantly thought outside the box. And by the way, what a joke, their safety belts, because when you were seated in the bed of the pickup truck, your heads would have been above the cab. So if there was ever a rollover, your heads would be squished like watermelons. There it is, folks. There is the Subaru Brat. Thank you, super producer Olivia. And look at those seats. And by the way, if you hung on to one of those and kept it nice like that, and crucially, kept the seats in the bed because they were removable. Well, the last one I saw on auction at, where was it? bringatrailer.com. 45,000 US. You see, Drea, so you should appreciate collectible cars. How do you like that?
That doesn't surprise me. Maybe some companies, aside from the seatbelt thing, can take some pointers from that. It's good to be back on the Rebel Roundup with you. It's been a while. And for those of you who maybe don't know how it works here, we go through the daily news. It's very off the cuff. Of course, nothing scripted. And you get to be a part of the show if you want to, too, which is my personal favorite part. If you're watching us on YouTube, there's something called Super Chats, where if you donate $5 or more, whatever you want to contribute to help us keeping the lights on and our reports going strong, we make a point to read that and make it part of the show. And sometimes you guys bring us the news. If you're watching this after it's live, it's called a super thanks. So you can give us a thanks that way as well. And even sometimes we end up reading those in the next show, depending on what you're saying. And if you're watching on our Friends Rumble, I say friends because it is the free speech platform competition to YouTube that has not censored us even once. If you're watching over there, you can give us a Rumble rant the same way and let us know your thoughts, and we'll read it out.
There you go. Andrea, why don't we get things going? Speaking of tariffs, well, here's the big news. U.S. President Donald Trump threatening 35% tariffs on Canadian goods starting August 1. I know there's some exceptions there, oil, potash, which is very significant, of course. What I would like to dwell on, though, Drea, is where's Mark Carney? Didn't Mark Carney run on I'm Captain Canuck versus the big bad orange man in the White House during the federal election? Wasn't he sold as the solution to U.S. tariffs and potentially us becoming the 51st state, which is, of course, a joke? But needless to say, a significant number of people bought that line, hook, line, and stinker, I might add. And what's happened? Remember elbows up? Oh, elbows up. By the way, I have to go off on a tangerine here. That is the most stupid phrase imaginable. Elbows up in hockey, you're getting a penalty. It's called elbowing. Anyway, suddenly all's quiet on the Ottawa front. As I understand it, Drea, Mark Carney is on vacation. By the way, it hasn't been revealed the details of that vacation. Is he vacationing in Canada? I'd really like to know that. Lead by example. We're supposed to be boycotting the U.S., for instance. But Drea, I would, if I were Mark Carney, even if it was just for optics, I would cancel the vacation. I would recall Parliament, say, yep, it's summer. Traditionally, we're off, but this is too important. Yeah. Remember, in his own words, the U.S. was an existential threat to Canada. And so we have Donald Trump burning the midnight oil on so many files, and Mark Carney, the elbows up. It's more like elbows reclined in a beach chair somewhere. This is crazy. Or plan B, maybe the U.S. isn't an existential threat. Maybe Mark Carney had no intention of putting his elbows up. Maybe Mark Carney doesn't have a response to U.S. tariffs. I just can't believe what I'm witnessing right now.
Well, I had an epiphany a couple of weeks back. It's elbows up because you can punch yourself in the face better in that position, which makes it all make perfect sense because that's exactly what we've elected here. But if you look back, I mean, it took forever for the House to sit in the first place. He took a while to call that. He's been going to France too much. Now he's on this mystery vacation that we don't know about, just like the budget. And we're supposed to be battling in this trade war where, like you said, he was supposed to be the guy to get us through, and that isn't happening. I have a little bit of whiplash going back and forth between the tariff threats and our response. Are we retaliating? Are we not? I mean, when he tried to do the online tax, his tail was in between his leg very quick there when the Trump administration said, you know what, we're done with Canada, no more negotiations. Well, that ended quickly. But as we've written here in that article written by our very own Alex Dhaliwal, some journalists, I believe it was with the CNN, kind of like our CBC out here, but for the US, is calling Carney a Trump whisperer of sorts. So much of a whisper, you can't hear what his strategy is at all when it comes to the negotiation table.
Again, Drea, I find the strategy or lack thereof just inexplicable. Carney has been on record saying if there's any U.S. tariffs, Canada will match them dollar for dollar. Guess what? That's not a strategy. The U.S. economy is more than 10 times the size of the Canadian economy. That's not going to hurt them. And what I would do, you remember that great line from Austin Powers when Dr. Evil, who's trying to get caught up on current events, and he says, throw me a bone here. Let's throw Donald Trump some bones instead of threats. Two in particular. One, get the Keystone XL up and running, which Trump supports. And how about this? I know supply management for all political parties except the PPC, it is a third rail issue. They won't touch it. But I really think if this Liberal government is serious, if it doesn't mean eliminating supply management, it means giving significant concessions to the tariff framework that are in supply management, some of which are almost 300% when it comes to U.S. imported dairy. And we know Donald Trump is obsessed with our supply management system. And Drea, wouldn't building Keystone XL be fantastic for domestic steel producers, domestic aluminum producers, get our oil sector up and running? Wouldn't that be win-win?
Yes, it would be a win-win. And again, you have to go down to conspiracy land about why we're not doing that. The other thing that Trump has pointed out in his open letter that was on Truth Social is, of course, fentanyl again, which is what he led with before. Says that in March and currently, started at the wrong part here. Mr. Trump justified the levies as an effort to force Canada to do more to address U.S. complaints about fentanyl trafficking and illegal migration. So again, Mark Carney is telling us all that they're doing amazing strides. I think we talk about that in the next thing, but it seems the U.S. government is saying no, it's still not good enough.
Not only that, Drea, in terms of fentanyl trafficking and illegal migration, what has Carney said recently? They're going to make cuts to border security. Now, normally, I'm pro-cutting just about everything in the federal government. We saw how the bureaucracy grew exponentially under Justin Trudeau. But right now, with fentanyl and illegal migration being big concerns of this current DC administration, you don't cut there. That is the last place you cut.
Yeah.
And we also, what's significant, it's not just that fentanyl is coming into Canada via China. There have been reports of fentanyl being produced in Canada. And I know the Liberals, they point to, it's a stat, forgive me, I should have researched this, but it was a insignificant, in their view, amount of kilograms of fentanyl that was seized at the border last year. But yeah, here's the deal, Drea, that was the amount seized. What amount got through the border? We don't know, and I bet you it was a far greater number than the amount seized. So again, this is really bad strategy for a guy who sold himself as the new age Captain Canuck. Then again, I remember when Captain Canuck came back out in the 70s, that was the least powerful superhero. It's just a guy in a spandex costume. He doesn't even have Batman's utility belt, so no wonder he's channeling Captain Canuck. But there you have it. And it, like I said, even if it was just for political hay, cancel your vacation, recall Parliament, and at least pretend that you're doing something.
It's time to lead. It's plain and simple. That's what you promised us you'd do during the election. Here's the time to prove it.
Yeah.
But if we look at this article we've got going on here, they say that even if those tariffs go through on August 1st as threatened, Canada won't be hurt that bad.
Right.
Is what they're saying. So Donald Trump's latest tariff threat might not have as much impact on Canada as first feared, but no one is breathing easy just yet. You think? No, we're not. So it goes over the letter, of course, and what it entails. And it says that a Carney government official told the Star it was still unclear to the Canadian government which goods the 35% tariff rate would apply to, despite all the media reports going on. And Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand told reporters in Malaysia on Thursday she was set to meet with the U.S. Secretary for some clarification on that, and also for what's been happening with our steel and aluminum there. But yeah, basically they're like, oh, don't worry about it. The PM's on vacation. It won't be that bad. We'll deal with it when he gets back, whenever that is.
100%, Dre. And not only that, it is clear for senior cabinet ministers, there's a gag order in place in terms of them talking about this. But doesn't that article make my point? There's a lack of clarity. Yeah, so why not get to the table and get clarification on what these tariffs apply to, even though there are significant exceptions such as oil and gas and potash. And by the way, you mentioned something in terms of why Carney isn't all that big on resource development, and I think you said the word conspiracy theories. You need not go down that path, Drea.
Yeah.
I would say this to you, to anyone in our audience: read Mark Carney's book, Values. And I would say this, Drea, if even half the electorate had read that book before he ran as Liberal leader, I think we're looking at a different government. How can you see what Carney's ideas are, in his own words, in writing, and think this is prime ministerial material? It's funny. Mark Carney's name is on that book, it should be Stephen King because it's a horror novel, let me tell you.
Absolutely, it's a horror novel for us. And what was it? One of their own committees, one of the liberal committees, is basically predicting the doom and gloom that values book sets out. If that becomes the values of Canada, now I must admit I haven't read the book. It's on my list of things. I should join a book club for it. But I did watch the podcast that Jordan Peterson did going over. And I wish many who were voting watched that as well, because I think he did a very fair and balanced approach to it, and it was still terrifying, like you're saying. Um,
Andrea,
so
I can see Ford in another news article. He says Carney has agreed to a first minister's meeting amid Trump's latest tariff threat. Doesn't this speak volumes? This is what we're so good at in Canadian politics: talking. We talk endlessly. How about some action? But I guess if there's a shindig that Premier Ford is invited to, as long as the caterer remembers to bring the cherry cheesecake, well, he's down with that, I guess.
well, out in BC, our prime minister, or no, not prime minister, our premier, David Eby, had quite the response to Trump's open letter that came out. If we can put that on the screen, he says, "This letter is flailing and factually incorrect. Other F words come to mind." Someone in the comments said, "What is it, David Eby? Fentanyl?"
Yeah.
you know, just one more reminder of why Canadians need to come together to grow our economy and to stand strong. British Columbians are leading the way on that work. Oh, are we? You're still
Really?
blocking pipelines. And again, Trump keeps mentioning the flow of fentanyl. And in the initial executive order, when the tariffs first got threatened, who was named out of the provinces? Oh, go figure. It's British Columbia, David Eby's British Columbia, where Vancouver is deemed the fentanyl capital of the world, where now we're literally busting super labs, plural. So, like you said, it's being made out here and we're busting them now. So here he is sitting on his high horse, not even being professional. I like what lawyer Eva Chipiuk has said. We've interviewed her a few times on the Fight for Freedom. She's like, is it possible for adults to be in charge in Canada? Like, can we just be a real country or what? Oh my gosh.
No, but Andrea, I think you're making my point about how we just love to. I'm talking about the political class. Sit around and talk when Premier Eby says Canadians have to come together and do what? I'm looking for tangible solutions, and your province, they're not pro pipeline. The first step would be coming pro pipeline, would be coming pro LNG, don't you think?
Absolutely. And because I love talking about our premier, David Eby, so much, can we throw just a little clip of Langley, or I think it's Abbotsford Langley MLA, Harmon Bangu, sort of in response to how David Eby has been behaving lately. And can we play that? Do we have that clip? Because it kind of, I think, goes nicely with this. With Eby, again, on his high horse, when he really is one of the most radical premiers we have in the country, if not the.
What do you think of the premier's comments whenever he talks about conservatives of calling you far right or your party far right? Is there any truth to that claim? Because that's their typical thing they come out with when they attack the conservatives, that you're far right and that you're extremists and that you're Trumpian and different things like that. How do you respond to that?
This is one thing that I hear all the time. But the one thing that David Eby doesn't seem to figure is, what do other people maybe think of him? He is the most extreme premier in British Columbian history. This is a guy that wrote a book to circumvent our justice system and aid and help criminals get off the criminal justice system. You're telling me he has any audacity to call anyone extreme? A guy that pushed drugs on people, made it more accessible for people to keep on with their addictions? You're telling me this guy has any ilk to be calling anyone else extreme? He needs to look himself in the mirror first.
So well said. Like David Eby is out of control. We were the only jurisdiction or the first jurisdiction in the entire world to roll out our safer supply, which has led to more overdoses. Like it's just a joke that these people are going elbows up and we have citizens doing that with them when in a big way they are the problem.
Oh, 100%. And, two things, Drea. First of all, can somebody out there please define far right to me? It seems that if you're right of center of Joseph Stalin or Mao Zedong, you are far right. Secondly, I noticed the graphic under the interviewees, and it said conservatives call on Eby to rescind BC ferry decision. Now, from what I remember, Drea, and please let me know if it's changed, this is the province, instead of buying ferries from the United States, sort of to do a snub, they're buying ferries from China. Now, I'm just wondering what the rationale is there. I mean, if there's any true existential threat to the world right now, it is China. They see themselves as the straw that's stirring the drink. They're ramping up very bigly in a military fashion. I'm just wondering, how is it in Canada's best interest to enrich the People's Republic of China when there are other manufacturers of ferries here in the world?
Exactly. We're seeing the truth of what's actually happening. I have a campaign, and I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to sign the petition at noccpdeals.com. I'm hoping to get at least 10,000 and then take it to our provincial transport minister. But you're absolutely right. 4 massive ships, ferry ships, are going to be contracted out to communist China. It is a huge national security threat. But again, let's talk about the economy. I thought we were being economy first. Here we have actual tariffs on our steel, and you're going to outsource this $1 billion deal out to, as actually MLA Harmon Bangu says, Timu steel. So how long is it even going to last? It's very concerning. And you asked basically, how did this all happen? Well, if you look at some of the media reports, they're like, oh, well, no Canadian, steel company even bid. But if you look at like C-SPAN, which is in North Vancouver here, they say we couldn't bid because we can't compete with China. As soon as you put that in there, there's just no way we can do it. So they're selling us out. It's sellout ferries instead of BC ferries.
It's unbelievable. And again, Carney, during the election, he talked about we got to be less reliant on the U.S. for trade. We got to look at other markets. Nothing wrong with that. But we will always be tied to the U.S. just based on geography more than anything else. But let me tell you something, Drea. We covered extensively the Pierre Poilievre campaign. We went to the rallies. We went to his pressers. And the one that sticks out in my head the most was in, I believe it was early April. It was in St. John, New Brunswick. I flew out there with Lincoln Jay. He had a huge rally in Fredericton the following, in the evening of that day. But St. John, New Brunswick, the port of St. John, which is where Mr. Poilievre had his press conference, that was the final destination for the Energy East pipeline had it been built. And what does that mean in tangible terms? That means in this port, 1.2 million barrels of oil per day would be coming in. And where was that oil going? Not to the U.S., to Europe, right? So again, a major infrastructure project for Canada, and to Carney's own ambitions, a different market. European customers, not American customers, but it's not built. And under this government, I can't see it ever being built.
Well, I hope. I see what you're saying, but I'm trying not to give up hope. Maybe we will be backed into a corner so hard that something's got to give. That's what I hope is happening anyways. Let us know in the comments. Again, you can chime in, give us your opinion on what you think is happening, whether it be super chats on YouTube or Rumble Rants, because sometimes my head hurts just trying to guess like what's going on in the minds of these leaders and where we're headed next.
Well, in the big picture, Dre, and I want to get your response to this. I think, I think those who were supporting the Conservatives in the April election and woke up devastated, kind of looking across the field like Linus does every October 31st when the great pumpkin fails to appear yet again. You know what the silver lining is, I think? If the Carney Liberals failed to deliver, and so far it's been nothing but failure. It's not been elbows up, it's been knees down. We haven't scored any significant victory as a nation. I think when the next election happens, and who knows how long that will be, but even if it is 4 years ahead, if these Liberals fail to deliver on their promises, and right now it's been nothing but failure, this is incredibly great fodder, I think, for the Pierre Poilievre Conservatives. It's like, look, Mr. Elbows Up, Mr. We're going to go to Washington, put that big bad orange man in his place, never delivered it. And I remember post-election, forgive me, I can't remember his name. It was a senior former Liberal. He predicted, Drea, that this batch of Liberals under Carney, it's going to be a very short honeymoon. He said 6 months. And if we don't see the beef, as Clara Peller used to say in the Wendy's ads in the 80s, within 6 months, it's going to get ugly very fast. What do you think?
Well, I hope so. I agree that it's always the silver lining. And I think as Rebel News reporters, where we are the messengers of the other side of the story and marginalized voices, I see that happening all the time. Let me know if you do too, David, where it's like your emails sort of, we get crisis emails and it's like, we got to do a story on them. But it's like this new shift of people. They come in different sections and it's like, a wake up in a new issue. Maybe it's the fishing industry. All of a sudden it's like, what the heck is this government doing? Or parental rights was a big one. So you're right. This whole lack of skills, lack of ability to bring something significant to the table when we need it the most is definitely going to wake up a whole nother group of people.
100%. And I guess we should end this segment, Drea, with Chris Pawlowski talking about why Canada deserves tariffs. And I've always said with many of these tariff rants that Donald Trump is on, there is a justifiable case why he's angry. And here's what Pawlowski says. Truth is, Canada deserves tariffs. Canada does not treat U.S. dairy farmers fairly. They don't allow U.S.-owned banks to become Schedule I banks in Canada, and they block U.S. telcos to compete for Canadian spectrum. Canadians need to call a spade a spade. President Trump is right. And by the way, with all those examples, which are accurate, who is being hurt there in addition to U.S. businesses? Canadian consumers. Look what we pay for our cell phone bills. Look what we pay for our dairy, right? So again, I agree with Chris. I think he's bang on. And Trump has made this case. It's not just with Canada, for European automobiles, going back to the car, Drea. Cars going to Europe from the U.S., 10% tariff. Cars from Europe coming into the U.S., 2.5% tariff. In other words, 1/4 of the tariff rate. And by the way, in addition to the tariffs U.S.-made cars face in Europe, there are non-tariff barriers. So if you do believe in free trade, well, let's really make it free trade.
Yeah, it's time for us to pull our weight. And just before we move on, to stay on point, we do have a couple of chats that came in. Thank you very much.
Okay.
P. Scofield 10 donates $5. Thank you. Says Eby sounds like as much of a tool as Gavin Newsom. You got that right. They'd be best buddies if they're not already. Who would have thought? Save me. But you know what? I was born in Alberta, so I don't know. If separating, I'm not saying they should, but maybe I have it out.
Drea, I spent a week earlier this month in California. I love California, and when I say that, I mean the mountains, the ocean, the weather, the fact that you can go outside and have a meal and not be eaten by bugs like we are, at least here in the GTA. I don't get it. I don't know where the mosquitoes and all the other pests are in California. They're not there. And that California was the embodiment of the American dream. Post-World War II, the westward movement to California, even sports teams from New York relocating there. And yet politically, it is a cesspool. And Gavin Newsom is the most recent poster boy of that. It's hard to believe that Ronald Reagan was once governor and that he won California in 1980 and 1984. But I think those days are gone, and it's a shame because I think California geographically is heaven on earth.
Yeah, it's very sad. And Nana Wake donates $10, says the anti-Canadian Prime Minister will stay on vacation. And when he comes back in fall, he will call the EA due to a few months of high tariffs and then blame it on Trump.
You know,
I'll just finish. Our enemy is not next door. It's coming from within. Yes, very much like a Trojan horse.
yeah, thank you for that donation. And yeah, I can't argue that point. And by the way, Drea, we were supposed to have a budget, if I recall, in December. And then Fraulein Freeland resigned, and that put the whole election ball into play. We still don't have a budget. I understand we might not have a budget until December. This is insane. But in the meantime, budget aside, I don't want to sound like a broken record. Recall Parliament, have Carney cancel his vacation. He ran on this, elbows up. I'm here to fight for Canada. Sitting on a beach somewhere. He's not doing a lot of fighting.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think it's time for an ad break and then more with the Daily News.
Alberta powers Canada, but Ottawa keeps limiting our potential. The Alberta Next panel wants your ideas to strengthen our sovereignty within a united Canada. Help decide what's next for Alberta. Visit alberta.ca/next.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of assault-style firearms.
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted. While criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. By delaying and dismantling unjust legislation, by confronting policy at its source, like on the global stage at the United Nations, through our unmatched record of political lobbying and our Save Firearms program, actively saving firearms from government crushers in real time. And we're not done yet. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
And Drea, I think we have a relatively new sponsor. I've got an ad read here. If you're still tossing and turning all night and feeling edgy during the day, let me tell you about CBD from CBD Distillery. Millions are turning to their CBD for relief because it works. In fact, over 90% of customers report better sleep with CBD. And it's not just sleep. CBD Distillery offers targeted formulations for just about everything: sleep, stress, mood, and focus. Even pain after exercise. They even have CBD for pets. And it's all made with the highest quality, clean ingredients, no filters, just premium CBD. What's your favorite, folks? Is it the pain stick, the sleep gummies? Let me tell you, Drea, Lady Menzoid is now on the sleep gummies for better sleep. She sleeps like a baby. A hand to God. She says it's the best thing she's ever done. She's getting a real night's sleep. So I know from Lady Menzoid, it works.
I thought you were gonna say I thought you were gonna say it's a good excuse for the ladies.
Oh, no. And let me tell you, and with over 2 million, do you hear that? 2 million satisfied customers and a 100% money back guarantee. Hello, 100% money back guarantee, folks. CBD Distillery is the source to trust. If you're struggling with sleep, stress, or other health concerns and haven't found relief, make the change, like millions are, to CBD from CBD Distillery. And for a limited time, you can save 25% off your entire purchase. Visit CB Distillery and use promo code REBEL. That's promo code REBEL. That's cbddistillery.com, promo code REBEL, cbdistillery.com. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. So there you go, folks. It's a discount. It's a 100% money back guarantee, and it has Lady Menzoid's personal endorsement. How can you lose?
Perfect. Gotta love our sponsors. And we also have one quick read. This is about a very fun conference that's coming up. I love going to conferences with like-minded people, and you kind of have like the think tank thing going on. So this is Canada Strong and Free Networks Calgary 2025 conference, and it's happening September 5th and 6th. So coming up, if you want to get your tickets, I'm going to read some of the names of who will be speakers there. So you've got author Tristan Hopper, Lord Conrad Black, Premier Daniel Smith, always a pleasure to listen to, and Preston Manning. So the early bird rates are available until August 4th. So if you want a deal, get them. And you can reserve your tickets today at CanadaStrongandFree.com. I believe that should say, it says network, but I think it's .com. So it is network, sorry. Canada Strong and Free.network. I guess .com wasn't available, but that's going to be a great time.
It is. I love every single speaker at that conference except one, but I won't dwell on that. And by the way, speaking of things happening in Calgary, Drea, don't we have in September, I believe, our 10th birthday celebration coming up?
That's right, Rebel. It's turning 10. Or we just turned 10. And so we're inviting everybody to come out and celebrate with us in Calgary for our 10th birthday. I mean, who would have thought? Nobody would have thought. Our critics would have said, there's no way that they're going to last this long. So that's happening September 18th. So you can look, I will be there, or I would be square, and we're going to have hors d'oeuvres, we're going to have some drinks, we're going to have some good time. So you can come with the Rebels, join us just to kind of hang out and celebrate the other side of the story with our backs against the wall, none of which, by the way, is possible without any of you. So this is really all of our birthday. So you can come out and do that, and you get tickets to do that at happybirthdayrebel.com. So meet and greets, and I think if there's like a VIP option if you want to go out with us in a little bit more of an intimate setting afterward too. So much fun.
You know, it's just amazing, Drea, because I go back a decade ago, and the way Rebel became a company was after the demise of the Sun News Network. I worked there with our beloved boss man, Ezra Levent. And the very next day, he created Rebel Media really on his kitchen table. And I can remember one troll saying, give them 2 weeks. Hello, yeah. 10 years later, I think that's a full decade, 1/10 of a century, here we are, bigger and better than ever. So I don't want to blow our own horn here, but it is worth celebrating this milestone, given everything that we've had to endure, and we are all the stronger for it.
Yeah, I can't believe I've been here 5 years now. So that's half as long as you. And I would have loved to have seen, those beginning stages. But even since I've been here, I have seen us overcome so many obstacles. And again, one of the big ones, I think, was us being demonetized and taking that huge financial hit just to bring the people the truth during the COVID tyranny era. So it's just been an honor, and I'd love to celebrate with you guys, because that would be an honor too.
Yeah, I can't wait, and we're going to have fun at this one for sure. So, folks, please, if you can, join us if it works out for you. So we have here on this banner, Drea, oh my goodness, RCMP extremism. It might not be what most people think, right, Drea?
I must admit, I haven't gotten this far on our list, so can you start it off, and then I will weigh in.
Yes. Well, first of all, we have Juno News has an exclusive. Leaked email shows Liberals to cut $98 million annually from the RCMP budget. You know, again, while I support government getting smaller, because that isn't the case, especially here in Canada, you know what I'd love to know about this is, where are the cuts being made? Is it frontline RCMP officers who are crucial to law enforcement? Or is it the bloated bureaucracy at the RCMP? I think I know where the cuts will be. So I'm very skeptical of this news article. And again, in this day and age where Donald Trump is complaining about illegal immigration and fentanyl getting into the U.S., do we want to cut RCMP police officers, the guys and gals doing the dirty work on the ground? I don't think that'll go over well with the White House either, Drea.
No, especially as crime continues to be on the rise in certain areas like Vancouver and Toronto, where you guys are being told, you know what, just leave the keys at the front of the house so thieves have easier access. But I can tell you where the cuts are not going to go. I highly doubt that they are going to go to the Pride initiatives of the RCMP, which there are so many of them in British Columbia. We have like a Pride mobile. I think it's the Surrey RCMP that drives around, and they do their Pride ceremonies where, as crime is going on, all these officers are going out to host Pride flag raising events. So it will be interesting. We should definitely follow up to see if some of that DEI bureaucratic bloat continues or not. If it's that type of cutback, I'm with it. But I have a feeling it's not looking good.
You know, Drea, I can't tell you how offended I was to look at that Pride flag, given that it's so outdated. That's the Pride Classic flag with the 6 colored bars. Where's the biopic triangle? Where is the purple flurple for, is it intersex? I think I'm losing track. And I remember when we were talking during our Alaska cruise last month, which was a phenomenal success. Didn't you mention, Drea, to me that it's the new age name for pedophilia, minor attracted persons, the MAP people, those who are interested in intergenerational love? They wanted their symbol on the Pride flag. Good golly, what would that be? A lollipop? I have no idea. And even for all the radicals in that community, that was a little too far, wasn't it?
Yes, there is this frightening, albeit somewhat small right now, but it's still representing itself in mainstream areas, including, a professor as well, saying that, MAPS, as they call it, minor attracted people, it's more common. So so far it's not embraced quite yet, of course, by all of the progressives pushing Pride propaganda, but it is still being requested. And I must say that I did not consent to the BIPOC, the people of color stripe being on that flag. They just dragged me in there, and I don't appreciate that.
Drea, I remain confused. I'm not saying this as a gag, but LGBT, et cetera, I've forgotten all the 15 or 18 letters in the initial gram, but it was always about sexual orientation and gender identification. And then suddenly, there we go, folks, as you can see, the white, pink, and baby blue, that's for the trans people. But wait a second, the original flag, LGBT, T is for trans, so they get double coverage because they're so special. Then we have brown and black. That's for brown and black people. Well, wait a minute. When did race become part of this? And why is it only two specific races? And then, of course, that purple circle, which is for intersex, whatever that means. Drea, I'm so confused. You know, I got to tell you, from a design standpoint, that's a dog's breakfast right now. Whether you're down with pride or not, you know, 6 simple colored stripes. It is a good design. Why? Simplicity. The simpler, the better. And now, in our lifetime, Drea, I wonder how many more symbols are going to be added to that flag. We should go to a graphic designer and come up with some other members of the community not represented, and make what we predict to be the pride flag of, say, 2050.
It's out of control. And, much like I refuse to figure out what all of the letters in the LGBTQ plus whatever is, I just refuse. I refuse at this point. I'm going to quit counting and finding out what those stripes are. But I will say, how bigoted of them to still have B represented on that flag, because B means bisexual. It acknowledges that there are only 2 sexes. Right? I'm surprised it hasn't been taken out yet.
You're 100%. And when you say, those members of the community that say, I'm non-binary, guess what? You are now part of a binary by saying you're non-binary. I mean, don't apply logic to the radicals in that community, Drea. You'll end up in a rubber room. But back to RCMP and extremism. Why don't we go to a video of Harmon Bangu, what he has to say?
We
look at this.
We already showed that one.
Oh, we did that. I'm sorry. So how about Wiretap Media regarding the CBC claims that the Canadian Armed Forces are filled, I tell you, with extremism? Let's check this out.
Extremism within the Canadian Armed Forces is an ongoing issue, not a new development. As Evan Dyer reports, there is growing demand for more robust action to deal with it.
I would like to say that I'm surprised, but I'm not.
Professor Andy Knight says his own interviews with radicalized Canadian soldiers and ex-soldiers done at the military's request convinced him there was a problem.
There were some individuals that joined the military to learn the skills. One individual said that he joined the military to learn how to kill brown and black people.
Police say the 4 men were seeking to create an anti-government militia and aim to seize and hold a parcel of land.
So is that the first stages of creating, this white ethno-state that so many far-right actors and accelerationists, for example, are interested in?
Extremism.
Okay, so what I think, Drea, you have a couple of dreamers fantasizing about this so-called white state. I don't know what the resources would be used to create this state. And yet, ever since October 7th, 2023, in so many cities in our Great Dominion, we have had the Islamists come out openly chanting for genocide, having people dressing up as Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind of that massacre in Israel, the single biggest slaughter of Jews post-Holocaust. We have seen the display of swastikas, and, what you gonna do? It's free speech. And by the way, if you don't like that, shut your mouth or we're gonna arrest you as a member of a peaceful counter demonstration or a member of the independent press. It's amazing what greases the wheels for the likes of the CBC, who just don't report on these hate-filled rallies we have seen for almost 2 years now, Drea.
And that group Samadon burning the flags, calling for death to Canada, Israel, as well as the United States on Vancouver soil, didn't even lose its charity status after we finally joined other countries in deeming it a terrorist organization. They're a nonprofit. I don't know if they still are today because I haven't looked at it in the last couple of weeks. But they were a nonprofit organizing this type of stuff out in public. Not to mention, it's okay to point out when there is extremists in these types of situations, of course, and call it out, within the proper portion of it. But then if you have, what's his name, Mr. Abdul Kawam in Surrey walking up to people in 2023 and literally saying, "Are you Muslim?" And if they respond no, slashing their throats. Where's the whole investigative piece on that type of extremism happening here? You kind of just get a little article here and there, kind of, oh yeah, this kind of happened there. Moving on. It's scary, actually.
Drea, what I want to know is, what are the nitty-gritty numbers? The headline said CBC says the Canadian Armed Forces, quote, is filled, end quote, with white people who want to kill people of color. How do you define the word filled? Is that more or less than a dozen, say? They don't get into the numbers. I would say this is probably a radicalized fringe, and that this story, given what we've seen for almost 2 years now, is being blown out of proportion because the narrative works for the left-wing legacy media.
Absolutely. That's something we definitely need to be doing some digging in to prove how much is filled. And again, I'm just going to go back to DEI because they've been heavily pushing DEI. So has that negatively impacted the amount that are filling the industry? So we'll see. We should do that.
And in the big picture, I understand recruitment for the Canadian Armed Forces, it's in the ditch.
Yeah.
And I wonder why that is. Does part of it have to do with vilifying white people? Does part of it have to do with, we got to show our diversity by having a drag queen show in the barracks? Does part of it have to do with the men's bathroom being stocked with tampons and sanitary pads?
Top priority. It was
exactly
labeled the top priority.
You want fighters, you want soldiers in your army. You don't want gender studies graduates. So maybe that has something to do with it. Unbelievable. Here in your neck of the woods, Drea, a video captures a shooting at a recently opened Surrey cafe owned by a Bollywood star, no less. Why don't we show that video, and maybe since this is in your backyard, Drea, you can make sense of it all for us.
A brazen eruption of gunfire. Almost a dozen shots fired at Cap's Cafe.
I was really shocked because we were looking forward to come and have lunch here today.
The popular New Surrey business, owned by Indian Bollywood star Kapil Sharma, was closed, but staff were still inside when bullets pierced the glass just before 2 a.m. Thursday. Families sleeping above woken up by gunfire.
This is just not okay. It's not okay for local businesses to be shot at, and it's very upsetting.
The grand opening just a few days ago.
We love Cap Cafe!
The proud community buzzing over the celebrity owner. Kapil Sharma is a wildly popular Indian comedian and television host. The motive of the shooting unknown.
People are saying for money, some people are saying something he said on the TV, and that's how it happens.
We have to let the evidence guide the investigation, and we can't rush to judgment very quickly, despite what some people might be saying, especially on online forums.
The Surrey Police Service tells Global News at this point, the shooting does not appear to be political or extortion related. For 2 years, police...
Talk about
Drea,
bad for business.
Oh, if I may add, nowhere from the statement from law enforcement, nowhere in the global news report is what Indian media are reporting, which is that this is a result of a Khalistani separatist group, that they have indeed claimed responsibility. Let us never forget that the biggest act of terrorism in Canada was the Air India bombing going back to 1986, over 300 people blown out of the skies. That was by a Khalistani group of terrorists. We've had 2 public inquiries that have proven that. So why are we so cautious all of a sudden when it comes to pointing fingers at who might be allegedly behind this? And one last thing, it's amazing, the Khalistani movement, this is all about getting a separate Sikh country within the state of India. It's a no-hoper. It's not going to happen. And incredibly, the Khalistani movement, from what I understand, Andrea, it is more alive in the UK, the US, and Canada, as opposed to India itself. Maybe we've had some problems with our immigration in terms of letting the right people in.
That's what I've heard too, that it's pretty much fizzled out there in India. And then you have the Prime Minister, is it Modi, in India saying that we're just letting a whole bunch of people in here that are extreme, that are doing things over there. And they're almost laughing at Canada for how our lack of security on this issue. But I just want to say, as far as shootings go, this is more common than you think lately. I can't say who's doing them all, of course. Indo-Canadian news, as you're saying, isn't shying away from the connection to Khalistanis. But Langley, this is all within the last 3 days. There was a shooting in Langley, the shooting that you just saw at that restaurant, to talk about bad for business. And there was another shooting inside of a home in Surrey. So this is happening all the time. And then you have the mainstream media dancing around important facts that would actually help keep the people informed and safe. So yeah, it's getting pretty bad.
Andrea, I just want to be clear about one thing. When I'm denouncing the Khalistani movement, I am not denouncing all Sikhs. There are fantastic Sikh people in all the countries I mentioned that they emigrated to. My grandfather, who served in the Second World War, like all kids, you want to know war stories. And like almost all veterans, they don't say anything. And I think it's because of, the horrors they witnessed. They simply want to block it out of their mind. But one of the 2 stories my grandfather did tell me was the Sikh soldiers were the absolute bravest, the hardest fighters. They were loyal to the British Empire. My grandfather being a Scot back then before he immigrated to Canada. So there is that. I just wanted to, clarify that I'm not dumping on the Sikh people as a whole. I'm dumping on the extremists.
Of course, yeah.
All right, so we are almost out of racetrack. There are several items. Holy smokes. Well, you know what? Ladies' choice. What do you say, Drea? There's a bunch of stories that you're involved with. Maid, Bonnie Henry. I don't mean to say those 2 words in the same sentence. It just came out that way. And the withdrawal from the WHO by the U.S. I think we have time for one. What do you think?
You know what? Let's go to that post on X that I did that just kind of does a contrast between how it appears that the U.S. is approaching the level of medical tyranny and coercion we went through, the bias amount of information when it comes to COVID. Can we put that tweet up? Because I just I can't get it through my head. I can't make it make sense that somehow in Canada, Theresa Tam and Dr. Bonnie Henry, both World Health Organization trained doctors, are getting our most prestigious medal in the country after everything that has happened to our country under their leadership. So I just did some points. I said the U.S. withdrew from the WHO, okay, defunded Gavi, so they're the main international vaccine alliance agency, fired the entire CDC vaccine advisory board. I believe there were 17 of them. And Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. said, gone. And you've replaced it with, Dr. Robert Malone is now in there. Okay, so you can see a very clear pattern of, hey, it looks like the U.S. knows exactly what happened. They've defunded a massive Moderna contract, and Gates and Soros, heavily backed by Gates and Soros, Planned Parenthood. So to me, it looks like not only are they cleaning house when it comes to the vaccine issues that we face, they're also taking a big hit at globalism. And here we are in Canada. What are we doing in Canada? We're giving these two our Order of Canada.
You know, Drea, that was an excellent observation. Talk about a tale of two cities, or a tale of two countries, as the case may be. And does anyone think that Mark Carney is going to go down that route, such as, getting out of the WHO? No, we know Mark Carney, in his own words, said he is a globalist and an elitist, and that is what Canada needs. So I imagine there are more medals to be handed out to the people that you rightfully call the medical tyrants in the days and weeks ahead. Absolutely shameful, Drea.
Absolutely. If there's something you want to touch on, let us know. Or do we have a cringe?
Oh, do we have a cringe video, super producer Olivia?
The daily cringe, as we call
I heard,
it.
yeah. Thank you for reminding me, the daily cringe. This is going to be a surprise to me too, folks. So let's see what super producer Olivia has plucked from the World Wide Weird Web.
Oh, apparently producer Olivia just explained to me that today we're making an exception. It's not exactly cringy, but it's a must-see. So let's go ahead. It's about DEI again in British Columbia, the home of such.
Dude, what are you doing? Call 911. The f*** do you think I'm doing?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, 911 emergency. Please explain the situation.
There's been an accident.
What kind of accident are you talking about?
A hit and run.
What is your location?
On West 5th Ave and... What the
What's the street?
No, that's not the street name. No, I can't... I don't know how to pronounce the street name. It's... I've never even heard of this street name before. I don't know what it is. Is it Ethiopian?
Spell it out, please.
Okay, upside down hat, S.
Did you say upside down triangle?
X, little W, top W.
Ray, this guy's gonna f***ing die!
I don't know what the f*** it say. You come and take a look.
For sakes, man. What? Please repeat. Sir, what? Help me, help you. Hello, sir. Sir, hello. Hello, did you say upside down triangle? Hello? Are you still on the line? Anybody there?
Oh my gosh.
You know, Drea, joking aside, how do you pronounce those words, and how do you say the symbol? I know from French we have accent aigu, whatever that means, but there's those things, as the actor said, it looks like a hat upside down. How do you say that word? Do you know?
No, I do not know. And here's the thing. Many First Nations and Indigenous people do not know how to read that either. But here we are for the first time, I believe in history, starting to see, not English letters. The primary languages in Canada are in fact English and French, and we're starting to see stuff like this right along with, certain First Nation groups kicking out other Canadians from public areas, whether it be beaches or beautiful parks. They're just like, you know what? We feel like doing some kind of ceremony here, so nobody else is welcome. So that's British Columbia right now for you.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I think one of those sign names, the first three letters was SXM, which sounds like a sports car trim of some kind. I don't know how you even begin to pronounce SXM. My advice, have your sign makers go on Wheel of Fortune and buy a vowel or 3 so we can at least, make something that is pronounceable in English. One of the 2 official languages of Canada, but I digress. Hey, Drea, the hour flew by really quickly. Thank you so much. And I just want to say thanks to our audience that tuned in, especially those that gave us a couple of bucks. That's how we keep the lights on. I will be back in this chair on Monday with the sensational she-devil, Sheila Gunn Reid. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. And as always, stay safe and stay sane. Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA hats to introduce, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada